And Michelle, I just want to say that is not happening. Stop trying to make Minnesota Joe happen. It's not gonna happen. Hi everyone, my name is Dimitri and welcome back to DimitriTube, The Bachelorette, Night 7. Let's talk about it. As always, if you're enjoying my videos, please go ahead and pound that like button, pound that subscribe button, and ring that notification bell. I'm a growing YouTuber and the likes and subscribes really help me out. So just two quick things before I get started. On Monday, I dropped a new video. I reviewed Jesse Palmer's season. If you're enjoying my Bachelor content, you'll definitely enjoy that video, so make sure you go ahead and check it out. I will link it above. Next, this week of The Bachelorette was hometowns. Now, when I watch hometowns, the main thing I'm looking for is if the conversations are specific to that couple. If the conversations are specific to that couple, that usually gives insight onto who the lead likes the most. But if the conversations are like generic, then most likely the lead is not very into that person. Okay, now let's dive in and get started. The episode starts and Michelle is talking to Tayshia, and honestly, they don't talk about anything important. But I did think their outfits were cute. And I did like Michelle's dress, but I feel like Michelle wore this same dress like 3 times this episode, just in different colors. Like, she had it in red, white, and tan. I liked the dress, but I wasn't gagged. Like, I really did not need to see it 3 times. Also, did anyone else think it was kind of weird watching Tayshia give advice on this process, but we all know her relationship with Zach just failed? And just one last thing before I dive into the first date, Michelle had a lot of confessionals this episode, and just like I thought previously, I'm happy to see more confessionals from Michelle, but they're kinda dry. The first date of the episode is with Brandon J, and for their date, they go to a skate park and they go skateboarding. For the date, Michelle wears a black hoodie, and I was just like, girl, where is the razzle dazzle? This is top 4. I don't care if you're back home in Minnesota. You need to be pulling out the razzle dazzle. Anyways, for the date, Michelle and Brandon J go skateboarding, and y'all, this was just a terrible idea for a date. Now, if Brandon and Michelle were in the real world, this would be a great date idea, but they're on The Bachelor, so it's a bad idea. Because I'm sure production told Michelle,
absolutely under no circumstances will you be skateboarding.
If you have never skateboarded before, it is very dangerous, and you have a very high chance of breaking your arm, even with all the padding on. So I'm sure production was like, absolutely not. And if Michelle breaks her arm and has to go to the hospital, they have to break the COVID bubble, and production just goes downhill from there. And if you noticed, Michelle got on the skateboard for a moment, but her and Brandon were going super slow, and Brandon was holding her arm the entire time. It was clear that they weren't gonna let her try it by herself, and that sucks for Brandon because yes, in the real world, this is a great date idea, but Brandon was probably under the impression that she would at least be able to skateboard a little bit. And since Michelle couldn't skateboard, she basically had to watch Brandon the whole time, and she looked a little bored. And I don't fault Brandon for this. He did have a good idea, but it's just in execution, it just didn't work out. Now we're moving on to the night portion of the date, and Michelle gets to meet Brandon J's family. So Brandon's brother Noah was kind of running the show and just running the whole family interaction. And I will say, I thought that was kind of weird because normally that's not how it goes. But Brandon's parents just seemed super timid on camera, so maybe that's why they let him do it. I don't really have much to say for this hometown, but at one point, Brandon's brother Noah asks, do you think you could see yourself with my brother Brandon for the rest of your life? And Michelle responds, I can sit here and be 100% honest with you and say yes. And at that moment, the camera panned away, and I'm pretty sure if we had seen Michelle's face, it would have gave away that Brandon J is not the one. And then later on, Michelle says that she's falling for Brandon J, but just something about this entire interaction, it just did not feel genuine to me. And overall, the conversations were just pretty generic. I love Brandon J, but I don't think he's the one, y'all. For the next hometown date, we have Rodney. For the date, Michelle and Rodney go apple picking, and they pick first kissed apples, which are native to Minnesota. And yes, I Googled it. First kissed apples are a real thing. Next, we all knew that Rodney was gonna go home, but this is where I started seeing a little more writing on the wall. First kissed apples are native to Minnesota, and Rodney is from California. So what does apple picking and first kissed apples have anything to do with Rodney's hometown. And like, I get it, apples are Rodney and Michelle's thing, but all the other guys in the top 4 had something specific to them or their hometown. Brandon J enjoys skateboarding. For Joe, they go to his high school alma mater. For Nayte, they go paddleboarding, which Nayte says he does in Austin all the time. But for Rodney, we didn't learn anything about him or his hometown. I actually had to Google where he was from. Okay, then we move on to the night portion of the date and we get to meet Rodney's family. So I did like Michelle's dress, but I will say it looked a little grandma. Also, this dress looks like the red one she wore for Brandon J's hometown and the white one we saw in the intro with Tayshia. And I think they are different dresses, but they all just look kind of the same to me. But on a brighter note, I loved seeing Rodney in the all black. He looked really good. Anyways, so Michelle is talking to Rodney's mom one-on-one, and Rodney's mom asks, what are some of the traits Rodney has that sets him apart from these other gentlemen? And then Michelle responds, there's a playfulness. I don't laugh as hard with anyone else as I do with Rodney. So he's a clown. You could see from space that Rodney was about to get sent home, because when his mom asked what you like about him, the only thing Michelle could say was that he makes her laugh. So then we go to a one-on-one with Rodney and his stepdad, and I think at this point, Rodney saw the writing on the wall as well. Rodney tells his dad, I'm so close to the finish line with Michelle, and I want to do whatever to cross it and make it happen. I truly think Rodney knew he was gonna go home, because with all the other guys, you hear things like, I think I'm gonna propose, I've never met a girl in the world like this, I'm getting so emotional, you're meeting my family. But then for Rodney, it's, I'm just trying to cross the finish line. And not only that, Rodney's mom saw the writing on the wall too. Rodney's mom asked Michelle, do you see yourself with Rodney outside of this? And Michelle responds, I'm looking for the small moments, the real moments where you go out into the real world, and that is where that can last and carry over. And y'all, Michelle completely sidelined that question, and if you looked at Rodney's mom's face, it was clear she knew what was going on too. But on a brighter note, his mom's Apple Watch was really cute, and that is not another pun about apples. She was truly wearing an Apple Watch and I thought it was cute. It was like bedazzled on the ends. I really liked it. And lastly, the bloopers Michelle and Rodney had at the end of them trying to make the Apple commercial was everything, and it may have been the most exciting part of the entire episode. I said this before, Rodney and Michelle are so much fun to watch on camera together, and I'm kind of bummed Rodney's gone. Okay, now we're moving on to Joe's hometown date. For the date, they go to Joe's old high school and ABC makes a prom for Michelle and Joe. And y'all, I was so annoyed. Another high school date. And Michelle had the audacity to say this was the most romantic date ever. But Joe looked amazing in that suit. He looked like James Bond to me. And Michelle's dress was fine, I just didn't love it. Actually, most of her outfits were pretty underwhelming this episode. Quick sidebar, at one point Joe said that he had never been to prom, and I really wish we got to hear more of an explanation as to why he never went to prom. Joe was the star basketball player of his high school, and he was Mr. Minnesota basketball, so I'm pretty sure if he asked any single girl in the greater Minneapolis area, they would have said yes. My only guess was that at the time, maybe he was just too shy to ask a girl out, or maybe he just didn't want to go. But I really wish we got to hear more explanation of why he didn't go. So then we move on to the night portion of the date and we get to meet Joe's family. And this is what I talked about earlier in the video about how the conversations we're hearing with Michelle and Joe's family are very specific to their relationship. And it's not something we heard with Rodney or Brandon J as much. When Michelle was talking with Joe's mom, they talked about Joe's basketball injuries and how he dealt with the aftermath of that. And Michelle also talked about Joe's quiet confidence and how they both got over the hurdle of sharing emotions. Like, these conversations they're having are very specific. And this is why I think Joe is gonna make top 2 over Brandon, just because the conversations they're having are just way more specific than anything we heard with Brandon J's family. Next, Joe and his dad probably had the realest conversation and the realest moment I've possibly ever seen on this show. When Joe and his dad had that one-on-one, they had nothing to talk about, and I just thought that was so relatable, because when I'm hanging out with my dad, me and him really don't have much to talk about either. And I feel like a lot of dad-son relationships are like that, especially in me and Joe's age group. Next, Joe's sister-in-law asks Joe, do you think you love her? And like, did y'all hear the way she said that?
Do you think you love her?
Her tone was very much,
are you really gonna marry some girl off a reality show?
Next, Joe says that he's ready to propose to Michelle, and later on he says he's falling in love with her. Now this is the perfect example of why I think Michelle likes Joe more than Joe likes her. Because Joe is saying these things, but we're not seeing it. Compare Joe to Brandon J. When we see Brandon J, he's constantly expressing to Michelle how much he's into her, and we see how over the moon he is for Michelle. But when it comes to Joe, we see like zero emotion. So yeah, he's saying he's falling in love with Michelle, but we're seeing no emotion. So it's really hard for me to believe that Joe is actually falling in love with her. And yeah, I get it, Joe is shy, but I really feel like we should see a little more emotion than what we're getting. And lastly, Michelle tells Joe goodnight, and she says, "Goodnight, Minnesota Joe." And Michelle, I just want to say that is not happening. Stop trying to make Minnesota Joe happen. It's not gonna happen. And finally, we have the one-on-one hometown date with Nayte. For the date, Michelle and Nayte go paddleboarding. For the start of this date, I did not like Michelle's look, but she's giving us slight Beyonce Lemonade vibes. I thought the date was cute, and do y'all remember my complaint from a previous review? On The Bachelor this week, Nayte took off his shirt, but we could not see any of his tattoos. That is unacceptable. Well, my complaints clearly worked because we finally got to see Nayte's tats. See what happens when you complain? And y'all, Nayte is covered in tats, and I'm pretty sure Michelle was loving that. Also, I feel like Michelle was reading Nayte for those orange swim trunks for a second. After Michelle and Nayte are done paddleboarding, they're talking, and Nayte tells Michelle that he's never talked about a girlfriend before. So Nayte is gonna talk to his parents about a girlfriend for the first time on national TV, and honestly, that's just not a good idea. But it ends up working out for him okay anyway. Okay, now we're moving on to the night portion of the date, and Michelle gets to meet Nayte's family. And the first question I had about this was, why did production allow Nayte's stepdad to wear this shirt? This shirt legitimately hurt my eyes to look at it. And why would Nayte's mom allow him to wear that? I would have clocked my mom for that. At one point, Nayte's mom asks Michelle, "What do you like about Nayte?" And Michelle responds, "We connect on so many different levels. We can talk about intellectual things and then jump to being playful." And I thought it was fantastic that Michelle was saying that, but we've seen none of that on camera. From what we've seen so far of Nayte and Michelle this season, we haven't seen much of Nayte and Michelle being playful or intellectual together. Next, Nayte's mom tells Michelle that she does not want all of this pressure on his son because this is all new territory for him. And she also says that he's gotten swept up in this process. So clearly, Nayte's mom had no idea what this man signed up for, because if she doesn't want that for his son, he shouldn't have signed up for the show. Next, Nayte says he is not ready to propose, and also his stepdad says that Nayte does not know the difference between being in love and being married or engaged. Y'all, I've said this multiple times now, and at this point, I just sound like a broken record. If Michelle picks Nayte, I just don't see them making it to the altar. And Nayte's dad feels the same way. And it even came from Nayte's own mouth that he is not ready to propose. Next, Nayte has a really emotional moment with his stepdad, and it was just so sweet. I ate it up. And y'all, this is what I call range. Nayte was delivering. How is this man not gonna win? He is giving us emotion that we are literally dying to see from Joe. Do y'all see this contrast between what we're seeing from Nayte and what we're seeing from Joe? Nayte is giving us all the emotion while Joe is giving us zero, and it's another indicator for me that Nayte is probably gonna win the show. And y'all, Michelle ate it up. When Michelle and Nayte were sitting on the bench after meeting his parents, Nayte was expressing his emotions to Michelle, and she loved every moment of it. Did you see the looks and expression on her face? She loves this guy. And y'all, when Michelle saw Nayte be vulnerable like this, her panties were soaked. Everything you needed to know was in her facial expression at that point. If Nayte does not win this, I will be shocked. Okay, so after Hometowns finishes up, Michelle meets up with Bree and Serena P, two contestants from her season with Matt James. Now, this interaction was just absolutely pointless, but Bree and Serena P did look amazing. And honestly, looking at the socials, I thought Michelle didn't with anyone from Matt's season. Like, I'm surprised they're friends. Okay, now we're moving on to the rose ceremony, and I just didn't love Michelle's dress. Just a few quick things about it. 1, I wish she had a necklace. 2, I wish it was a different color. 3, from far away, it looked like the dress had 2 random holes in it. 4, I didn't really like the black bars on the thigh. What did y'all think of this dress? Let me know below in the comments. Yep, it's that time. Outfit of the episode. For this week's outfit of the episode, I am giving it to Kaitlyn Bristowe. Kaitlyn Bristowe is wearing this really cute green dress, and it looks like lingerie, but it's not lingerie. Also, this is a very pretty shade of green. I just had to give it to Kaitlyn this week. Also, Tayshia's dress was really cute too, but I just like Kaitlyn's better. And during the rose ceremony, Rodney gets sent home, which we all saw was coming, and Michelle says it was a tough decision, which we all know was not true. And I do think that Rodney liked Michelle, but he didn't even cry in the Uber XL. Michelle shed more tears than he did. I truly think Rodney saw the writing on the wall well beforehand, and he probably cried like the night before or a week ago or something. And just one last thing, y'all, I know this video is shorter than what I normally give you, but I really felt like not much happened on this episode. But if you're still itching for more of my content, feel free to check out the Jesse Palmer video I put out on Monday. I'll link it below. And that is the end of the episode and the end of this review. If you enjoyed this review, please go ahead and pound that like button, pound that subscribe button, and ring that notification bell, and I will see you all next time. Have a good one. Bye.